Our self-esteem or self-value depends on the value of the features associated to ourself. If we are rich, tall, and healthy and think that these features are positive, our self-esteem will be high. If we are poor, sick, and unemployed, and think that these features are negative, our self-esteem will be low. It is often believed that the features' values are absolute and immutable, but history shows that this is not the case. Having a fair complexion was once considered positive, because it was associated to a higher social status. Today, being tanned is positive. This proves that features' values are relative and plastic. Values can be changed by association. If we associate a negative feature with a positive feature, the value of the first feature will increase. Marketing uses this principle with influencers, whose presence increases a product's reputation. We want to apply this method to our negative features, which cause our low self-esteem. This series of videos highlights some common negative features, proposing for each of them a list of people who share the feature. Knowing that we are not alone may help to render them less negative and more tolerable. Enjoy!
Giacomo Casanova, 1725–1798, was an Italian adventurer and author from the Republic of Venice. His autobiography is regarded as one of the most authentic sources of the customs and norms of European social life during the 18th century. In his final years, he became the librarian to Count Joseph Karl von Waldstein in the Castle of Dux, Bohemia, now in the Czech Republic. Casanova describes his last years as boring and frustrating. His health had deteriorated dramatically, and he found life among peasants to be far from stimulating. Casanova's only friends seem to have been his fox terriers. In despair, Casanova considered suicide, but decided instead that he must live on to record his memoirs, which he did until his death. Emily Elizabeth Dickinson, 1830–1886, was an American poet. While Dickinson was a prolific poet, fewer than a dozen of her nearly 1,800 poems were published during her lifetime. Many of her poems deal with themes of death and immortality, two recurring topics also in the letters to her friends. The evidence suggests that Dickinson lived much of her life in isolation. Considered an eccentric by locals, she developed a penchant for white clothing and was known for her reluctance to greet guests or, later in life, to even leave her bedroom. Dickinson never married, and most friendships between her and others depended entirely upon correspondence. Howard Hughes, 1905–1976, was an American business magnate, investor, record-setting pilot, engineer, film director and philanthropist, known during his lifetime as one of the most financially successful individuals in the world. Hughes was eccentric and suffered from a severe obsessive-compulsive disorder. In 1970, his wife Jean Peters filed for divorce and Hughes spent his final years in isolation until his death, on April 5, 1976. His reclusiveness and possibly his drug use made him practically unrecognizable. His hair, beard, fingernails and toenails were long. His tall body, 193 centimeters, weighed barely 41 kilograms, and the FBI had to use fingerprints to conclusively identify the body. Nikola Tesla, 1856–1943, was a Serbian-American visionary inventor and engineer. His work produced numerous innovations in the field of electrical engineering, particularly in electrical energy technology, such as the development of the system for the transmission of electrical energy, now known as two-phase alternating current. Tesla is the author of over 280 patents in 26 countries. Tesla never married and spent his final years living alone in room 3327 of Hotel New Yorker. In the fall of 1937, at the age of 81, one night Tesla left the hotel to make his regular commute to the cathedral and library to feed the pigeons. While crossing a street a couple of blocks from the hotel, Tesla was unable to avoid a taxicab and was thrown to the ground. The full extent of his injuries were never known. Tesla refused to consult a doctor, an almost lifelong custom, and never fully recovered. He died alone on January 7, 1943, at the age of 86.